back to the I Am Passionate podcast. It's your host, Jaren. I hope you all are having an amazing day. And I'm just here to yap about some more NFL. Last week, I had my brother on, for his first time on video, I should say, for the podcast. And I was an amazing episode. And I do enjoy having the guests on the podcast. And those, in a sense, are some of my more rewarding episodes, mostly just from the fact that, having the Zoom calls to, be able to expand my audience. By that I more so mean, have different perspectives, and it's just cool to be able to edit that and put it all together like I've been able to do throughout this NFL season on multiple different occasions. But enough about that. Just gonna briefly talk about some of last week's games. Mostly just the L's that I had. First I'll talk about the 49ers versus Bears. And even though, yes, I did pick the Bears last week, I thought it would have been a much closer kind of game. I didn't expect it to be a butt whooping, but it definitely was. This season has just been very, very, very unexpected. I did not foresee this happening. Um, Another game, Bills versus Rams, which me and my brother both picked the Bills to win, but we did say that this game would be close. At first, it wasn't looking like the game would be close, but the Bills had an amazing comeback. Josh Allen had an amazing game, but just unable to get the win against the Rams on the road. But that was a great game. Chargers versus Chiefs. Only thing I really have to say about that is that I know on this podcast I've repeatedly said that the Chiefs have been very, very lucky, but the refs did miss some calls. There was a scramble on the final drive for the Chiefs where Patrick Mahomes has stepped up, went out to his right and scrambled. That play should have been brought back because the right tackle, I believe Juwan Taylor, had hands to the face and holding, so that should have been brought back. But yeah, once they got that third down conversion to Travis Kelce, I'm like, man, they made that way too easy. How do you forget about the Chiefs' best weapon? Like, that's just crazy. But I mean, hey, they did play a great game, and this year's Chargers team is a lot different from last year's Chargers team. I understand different head coaches, and you have Jim Harbaugh now. Culture change, which is a good thing. And for the Chargers, I think I'll only continue to see good things for them in the future. And yeah, it's just crazy to me because both times the Chargers played the Chiefs this year, I honestly thought they were going to get the win just because I mean, the first time I believe they won 17. They lost 17-10, and then they lost on a last second field goal, which was a double doink type situation. Well, not double doink, but they doinked the hit the upright, which it's just crazy. Like that, they've won what I think 15 straight one score games. That's just insane. That luck has to run out, and I would say the same thing, even if it was the Ravens. Um, Moving forward, Packers versus Lions. I do think it was a great game. Uh, yeah, that fourth down call was very, very gutsy. But I mean, hey, it was just a great game, kind of as I expected. I was wrong. I thought the Packers would win, but the Lions they took care of business. Um, Jags versus Titans. This was a game I did not have the chance to watch, but I got to see the box score. I did not foresee the Titans, playing that bad against the Jaguars, and both have 10 losses now. And yet, no, it's just kind of crazy. It is just kind of crazy. But overall, last week I was 8-5. Most of the picks I had, were pretty accurate, pretty spot on. Which not a bad week. The week before I had a better week. But enough about that. We are going to talk about this week's games. We have the Thursday night football game tonight. As the time of this recording, it is 1:43, now 1:44. We have the Rams versus the 49ers in a huge, huge game for the NFC West. I'm going to take the Rams just because, that offense keeps rolling. They can get into the playoffs, and it won't be easy to beat the Rams. I mean, even if, they have to go to your stadium. I mean, Puka Nakua is playing amazing. Cooper Kupp is always a dog. Kyron Williams, even though he has fumble problems, I do still think he's a good running back. And Matt Stafford, veteran quarterback. I think that they're a team that offensively they can keep up with most teams in the NFL, and I think they can if they sneak into the playoffs. I think that they can pull off an upset, and I wouldn't know if it would 100% be considered an upset just because they do have a great offense, but I'm not going to sleep on them. I'm going to pick the Rams in a close game. Commanders versus Saints. The Saints have been playing better since, their interim head coach, I believe his name is Darren Rizzi, had stepped in. I'm believe the Saints are at home against the Commanders. I'm I'm kind of hesitant to pick the Commanders, not because I think the Commanders are the better team. I'm hesitant to pick them just because I believe they didn't play last week, and so they're coming off of a bye week, and so Jaden Daniels, it's been roughly 2 weeks since playing, which I mean in reality it's not that bad, but I'd be interested to see how. You know what? I'm gonna pick the Commanders, but I think this game's gonna be a lot closer than expected because a lot of people are probably gonna pick the Commanders to win by at least a score. But I see this game kind of going down to the wire, just being a good game. Chiefs versus Browns. Give me the Chiefs. I think Jameis Winston is going to be able to make it interesting because I mean, hey, he's a gunslinger. He'll be able to get you all those touchdowns, all passing the ball, but at the same time, he throws it into harm's way at least 2-3 times a game. I think the Chiefs will be able to capitalize on that. And the thing is, I feel like a strength of the Chiefs defense is pass defense because you got Chris Jones rushing the passer. They have a good secondary. So I think the Chiefs will probably be able to have some success against Jameis Winston. Give me the Chiefs. Bengals versus Titans. Give me the Bengals. They just played a good game on Monday night, which also, that block punt. So going to just speak about the Bengals and Cowboys game for a minute. I have never, it's not that often that when I'm watching an NFL game, I see a blocked punt. By that, I mean, with the game that I'm watching, I'm not counting if you're watching a CBS game, and then, when you get like the score highlight update to say the Ravens and Steelers, and the Steelers block a punt from the Ravens. It's not, but that's when I typically see them. Otherwise, when I'm watching the Bears and Packers, it's not that often I see the Packers punt is blocked by the Bears, like in a game I'm actually watching. Hopefully that example kind of made sense, so to speak. But yeah, no, I've never seen that happen in a game. Like that is probably the craziest block punt that I've ever seen. And that Cowboys player, don't get me wrong, it definitely sucks, but he had to go for it because that ball wasn't live play. It was the equivalent of a fumble because most block punts they end up out of bounds or they end up going backwards for the team who blocked it to get a safety or a touchdown. So yeah, no, it's just crazy to think about that. But Bengals versus Titans, I'm taking the Bengals. The Bengals are Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase playing out of their minds, and I think it is only just going to continue. Miami versus the Texans. This is a weird game. Miami needs this win because they're trying to make a playoff push. Tua has been playing well. The Texans, I feel like a lot of people had a lot higher expectations for them this year, myself included, which, I mean, they're still the best team in their division. I'm going to take the Texans. I think that if they are serious and they want to make a push, the time to start building that serious momentum is now. Give me the Texans. Ravens versus Giants. Give me the Ravens. And I would be saying that even if I wasn't a Ravens fan. They had that game against the Eagles where, in the first quarter, they came out strong. Then they didn't really do anything until the end of the game. But give me the Ravens. This is a chance to build some momentum for them and that they can, get on the right foot. I know they still have to play the Steelers a second time. They have to play the Texans on Christmas Day, which I think that'll be an interesting game. And then they have to play the Browns again, which even if, the Browns don't have anything to play for necessarily, because I'm pretty sure they're eliminated from the playoffs, but it's an AFC North battle. Things will always be important. So, and that's the Ravens Week 18 game. I saw some reports that Drew Lock has an injury. I don't remember the injury off the top of my head. So it will be Tommy DeVito, in which I think the Ravens, they cannot sleep on the Giants. I'm saying that just because, those of you listening, they're probably going to be like, Jaren, the Ravens are going to smack the Giants. And which I want to say that I do. But you can't forget the Ravens when they played the Raiders earlier this year. Similar sort of situation. I understand at the time, the Raiders, they had Devonta Adams. They had more pieces than the Giants do, but I'm not going to sleep. Malik Neighbors, he's a great, rookie wide receiver. I think he has the potential to, just be great. And so I don't think they can sleep. That the defense will have to the defense has to ball out. If the defense allows the Giants to hang around in the game, then I see it being a little bit trouble. And like honestly, if this year's Ravens team was, if they were even, let's just say if they were a little closer to what they were last year, at least defensively, I'd have no doubt in my mind. But I'm picking the Ravens. I'm pretty certain in it, but I just don't want the Ravens and fans to be like, okay, we're gonna look past this because trap game. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Jets versus Jaguars. Dear God, I don't know who to pick. Trash or just both these teams are trash. Oh man, who do I pick? You know what? I'm gonna pick the Jets. I don't really have any reason as to why I'm gonna pick the Jets. I'm just gonna pick the Jets. um, but this is really can go either way. It can really be 50-50. I guess just whatever team either A just comes out a little bit more on fire, or the team that just plays cleaner football, which I understand. If you play clean football 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to win a game. So I'm gonna take the Jets though. Cowboys versus Panthers. I saw that this is the first time that Bryce Young has been the starting quarterback and is favored in the game. I'm still going to take the Panthers because something that I said to my brother last week is I trust the Panthers to beat the Eagles more than I trusted the Raiders in their game last week against the Bucs. And I was super close to being right. Even if Xavier Legette had caught that touchdown pass, the Eagles did have a chance to, drive down the field and kick a game-winning field goal. But the Panthers, they drove, I think, 98, 99 yards. It was a great drive. Bryce Young extending plays, being the number 1 overall pick that, the Panthers knew he could be and a lot of other people knew he could be. So I'm going to take the Panthers. I know I've been riding high on the Panthers the last couple of weeks, but, they've been playing good football. They barely lost to the Chiefs. They barely lost to the Eagles, 2 teams that will be competing for the Super Bowl. So that's a good sign that, things are changing in Carolina. Bucks versus Chargers. I think this would be a good game. The Bucks have to keep getting wins because even though Atlanta has been very disappointing, Kirk Cousins has not been playing well. The Bucks lost both their games against the Falcons. They have basically zero room for error. The Chargers, they're still in a pretty good spot just because, the Raiders aren't good, but they have the Broncos kind of creeping down. They're keeping an eye on them. I think I'm going to take the Chargers specifically because of that defense. I think they'll be able to make enough plays to, give Justin Herbert and that offense a chance to lead the offense down the field for either a touchdown drive or a game-winning field goal to seal the game. So, give me the Chargers. Next game, we have the Colts versus Broncos. I'm going to pick, I think this can kind of go either way because Anthony Richardson has been playing better. And, they're trying to make a playoff push, and the Broncos are trying to catch both the Chargers and the Ravens. I'm going to pick the Broncos. I think Bo Nix is going to, play well. I think he's going to outplay Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson will have a great game. I just think the Colts, he'll struggle a little bit early, but then kind of find his rhythm fairly quickly. Give me the Broncos. The Patriots versus the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals. I think they need this game way more. And I saw another report saying that Gerard Mayo is coaching for his job, which I'm not 100% sure if that is true. It could have just been a rumor. But the Pats, they're always like, I'm always going to respect the Patriots, even though that Bill Belichick obviously is not there. And also, speaking of Bill Belichick, just a brief college football plug, I don't think it's going to work out. I do not. I don't think it's going to work out because college sports are just a different animal these days because of NIL. Because, a lot of, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, some of them are going to, want the money more than being able to play, in which I get it. Because, an NFL career, if you're a college athlete, is not as certain. But the reason I don't think it's going to work out is simply just because I don't think Bill Belichick's, old school style of football, old school style of coaching is going to translate to college football. I don't think, like the aspects of recruiting, social media presence, I don't think that's, unless Bill Belichick gets somebody to handle that for him, which I don't think he would, I don't think it's going to work out. Like, I think they're going to be a well-coached team, even without Tom Brady in the NFL. Bill Belichick's Patriots had always been a well-coached team, and I think, University of North Carolina next year will be a well-coached team. but I don't think they're gonna get incredibly far. Also, let me know if you all want me to talk about the college football playoff, which I understand that bowl weekend is, I believe, Saturday. Again, this is December 12th, Thursday, several hours before the Thursday night football kickoff. But enough about college football. Going back to the NFL, we're going to talk about the Bills versus the Lions, one of the games of the week, because for the Bills, both teams, this is important for seeding because the Lions have the Eagles breathing down the back of their neck. And the Bills are, number one, trying to catch Kansas City, but also at the same time, they're trying to keep their lead on the Steelers, which I believe both teams have the same record. By both teams, I mean the Bills and the Steelers. And it's like if the Bills lose and the Steelers win, then that switches 2 and 3 seed, which that'll be a huge deal. So this is a huge deal for both sides of the AFC and NFC for the playoff picture. Huge deal. I'm gonna pick the Lions though. I think Josh Allen will play an amazing game just like he did last week. But I think the Lions, man, I think Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, I think they'll be able to, help basically win the game. I think it'll make it easier for Josh Allen. Easier for Jared Goff. By that, I mean Jared Goff is not going to have to sit back and throw it 30, 40 times. He might, only throw it. He might throw it less than 30 times, complete maybe close to 20 of his passes, which is still a good day. Give the Lions, but I think this game has the potential for game of the week. And then the next game, Steelers versus Eagles, another game of the week type of thing. Now, for both sides, it's huge. Steelers trying to catch the Bills and the Chiefs while holding off the Ravens, which the Ravens are, I believe, 2.5 games back. And the Eagles are trying to catch the Lions. I'm not sure, because this is an important game for technically Saquon Barkley, just because he's very, very close to breaking the rushing record. By very, very close, I mean he's on pace if he stays at his current pace. And this is the toughest rushing defense he has left to face. Honestly, I'm gonna pick the Steelers. I think the Steelers are gonna do a better job containing Saquon Barkley than the Ravens did. And the Ravens did do a pretty good job until the fourth quarter, which I understand it's 4 quarters. Like you can have somebody bottled up for, 59 minutes and 58 seconds, but then those 2 seconds they can make an amazing play, which, will give them amazing stats. But I'm going to do that. And, there's been a lot of talk about, the Eagles passing offense, A.J. Brown in the media, which, Brandon Graham was like, there's kind of some tension. There's some air quotes beef going on there, which, the Eagles passing attack, I honestly I was not aware that their stats were just so off. I mean, Jalen Hurts is still having a great season, but, like something that just jumps out at you is that he has a lot of rushing touchdowns this year because of the tush push, which, I mean, it's a reliable play. I mean, I'm not a particular fan of it personally, but I mean, if you can't stop it, I just keep running it. I've always had that mentality. Like, if I'm playing Madden and you cannot stop stretch, like I'm running stretch, like I'm gonna go to it fairly often. Like if I'm in a pinch and I need to get a first down, if it's 3rd and 3, I'm gonna hand it off to Derrick Henry. I'm gonna hand it off to DeAndre Swift. I'm gonna hand it off to Isaiah Pacheco. Well, I can go on and on. But I'm gonna take the Steelers. This is gonna be a close one. And the other thing that I think this will be decided by, I think the Steelers' passing offense, which I understand George Pickens might not play in this game, which that could be the X factor. So Monday night has 2 football games this week, I believe. The Bears and Vikings and Falcons and Raiders. I'm not sure about, I'm not going to pick the Bears. I'm going to pick the Vikings. Sorry, Kev. Sorry, Dad. Anyone who's listening. I just don't have as much faith in the Bears right now. Don't get me wrong. I think that they're still a way better team than their record, shows them to be. But it's just, I don't know. I think I never was a fan of Matt Eberflus. I've been saying that he should have been fired back when they played the Colts. But what he did do did help that defense a lot, clearly. And I think this game has the potential to be dangerous early. The players, they're going to have to, make plays on defense. The Bears defense will win them this game if they win. But I'm going to take the Vikings to win them this game. And then Falcons versus Raiders. The Falcons need this game. I also do not trust the Raiders. there's been a lot of talks about Kirk Cousins being benched for Michael Penix, in which I don't think they should just yet. I understand he's an older rookie quarterback, but I think you should still, I mean, at this point, I think you should give Kirk Cousins the reins, and then no matter how your season ends, consider playing Penix next season. Just because I just believer of if you try to insert him now to make a playoff push with a team that's been struggling and he doesn't play well, that's just gonna mess up his confidence. And so I don't think you should play Michael Penix. The only way I think you should play Michael Penix is if Kirk Cousins gets hurt. Knock on wood. But give me the Falcons in that. And last real thing I'm going to talk about is really just some of the NFL awards, which the MVP is going to go to one of three people: Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson. Saquon Barkley, if that rushing record is his huge case right now, but I believe just because Jalen Hurts has so many rushing touchdowns, even if, let's say if Jalen Hurts had 5 rushing touchdowns, I believe he's tied with Derrick Henry for 13. Let's say you cut Jalen Hurts' rushing touchdowns in half and those went to Saquon Barkley. I think he has a stronger case, even if he's super, super close to breaking the rushing record. But I just think that the NFL with the MVP award has just been too much of a quarterback award. So that's kind of why I'm not 100% certain that Saquon Barkley's going to win it. Josh Allen. Josh Allen's been playing great. He really, really has been. And, they're 10-3, and typically, they're going to give the quarterback the MVP with the better record. Now, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's stats are just as good, if not better, than Josh Allen's, which is why I'm saying he could, but the Ravens would have to basically win out, and the Bills would have to lose a couple of games for Lamar Jackson to definitively get it. But I do believe Lamar Jackson has been the best quarterback in football this year. I really think he has been. I think this is the best that he's looked this year. So one of those 3 players are going to get it. I think my money, if I was to be a betting man, would go more towards Josh Allen or Saquon Barkley. If the Ravens hadn't lost 5 games already, I believe Lamar Jackson should very much still be in that conversation. But give Allen or Saquon Barkley, those would be my picks. The Offensive Player of the Year award, if Saquon Barkley doesn't get the MVP, he's going to get the Offensive Player of the Year award. Even though Jamar Chase should be in that conversation. He is on pace to shatter the season that Cooper Kupp had in 2021. So either Saquon Barkley or Jamar Chase. For the Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think they're going to give it to Myles Garrett just because, he's on the Browns. And so I'm not 100% sure in terms of statistics who would be, I'd say, the most deserving of the award. TJ Watt has always been, a game wrecker. Who else has been playing really, really good on the defensive side of the ball this season? I'm gonna have to think about the Defensive Player of the Year award. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's gonna go to Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams has been putting up great stats, but also Bo Nix, he has definitely crept himself to at least be in the conversation. But either one of those will get Rookie of the Year for sure. That's the award I meant to say. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's going to go to Jared Verse on the Rams. I believe that's his name. Kevin was right. I remember the first episode when I brought Kevin and David on. Kevin had picked him, then this was like week 4, week 5. I had them on for the first time. Jared Verse, he's just been playing phenomenal. I don't have his stats put up in front of me. Most of the time when I'm recording, these episodes, I don't have their stats in front of me, which I'm sure if I did, I would be able to give a more definitive answer. I'm a part of this podcast is just my gut feelings, my overall thoughts, and I don't want the numbers exactly to sway my opinions and my thoughts. Though I'm not gonna go over every single award. I'm going to kind of save the concept of this for next week, just so that there's more to talk about, because I think this can be a huge, huge week for the MVP voting and stuff, like all the awards, because the Bills and Lions, Josh Allen being an MVP favorite, he could absolutely not play well on Sunday, which Jared Goff was in it at one point, and then I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, but he threw 5 interceptions against the Texans, and that pretty much took him out of the race. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the awards more definitively next week because I think that'll be better. But the real last thing I will be talking about are the Heisman, just because that's a thing that, a lot of people are interested in. And I know that the two favorites are Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. Um, who do I think? I think Travis Hunter deserves it just because he's top five at wide receiver and DB, and he plays most of the snaps in every game that Colorado has played, which I know that there's been two-way players before, but I think to the level of Travis Hunter, I think the only person that you could probably compare is Deion Sanders. But I'm not 100% sure if he played both ways in college football. I know he did in the NFL. Ashton Genty, I will admit that what he's doing, I don't think it'll be broken. Just like I don't think if Ashton Genty is able to break Barry Sanders' record, I don't think that record will be broken. Just like if Saquon Barkley breaks the NFL rushing record in a season, I don't think the record will be broken. Just because passing is it's just such a focus in football, and that the running backs, they're not as prioritized. That's why I don't really think either record will be broken. So I will not be surprised if, say, Ashton Genty gets the award, but I think I would give it to Travis Hunter if I was in charge. I'm not the most knowledgeable on college football. I just wanted to share my take on it because the last 2 years I have watched a lot more college football than I've watched in the past. But I just want to thank you all for watching and listening to this episode. I really, really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.